And on the line with us is Lizzy Ratner, the senior editor at The Nation magazine. TheNation.com is the website. You can tweet her at Lizzy Ratner, Lizzyratner. Lizzy, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Great to have you with us. You are the senior editor of The Nation magazine. And,
yes,
and you have a piece out. Amy Goodman is facing prison for reporting on the Dakota Access Pipeline. That should scare us all. I get why it should scare journalists. Why should it scare everybody?
Well, you know, how do we find out about bad things that are being done to people of little means or even people of a lot of means? How do we find out about what our government is up to, what corporations are up to? We find out very often through journalists. The idea that sort of a free press is essential to our society is so critical that it's enshrined in the First Amendment. So this should scare us because it seems like a clear attack on the First Amendment. It seems like a clear attack on the very people who are delivering the news to us, who are telling us about what's happening with the Dakota Access Pipeline. You know, there's been some very good print media journalism about the Dakota Access Pipeline. But until Amy Goodman went out there, none of the three major American broadcast networks had gone out to cover the situation with the Dakota Access Pipeline. The BBC had gone, which is, you know, hats off to them from covering it all the way for their audience in England, but none of the three major broadcasters had gone. Amy Goodman went out there in early September to cover the protests, this crucial, extraordinary phenomenon that's happening right now, where you have well over 100 tribes gathering together to protest theft of their lands, possible sort of endangering of their water, but also the water that 18 million people in the area drink. And when she was out there, she happened to cover a protest at which private security contractors attacked the protesters with dogs and with mace. She covered the protest. She published a video of the protest on Democracy Now! Without that video, I doubt if people would have really known what had gone on at that protest. They wouldn't have seen, you know, dogs with blood on their snouts going after people. They wouldn't have seen people dousing their eyes and getting mace out of their eyes. So people probably wouldn't have known about that protest. There's social media, but, you know, that can only go so far sometimes. So Amy Goodman goes and covers the protest, and wham, she gets slammed with a misdemeanor charge. So to, you know, go back to your question, it's a danger to us all because once journalists start getting arrested, we don't know what's being done to people in this country.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? What can people do about this who are concerned about it?
Well, I'm going to quote Amy Goodman actually on this. I mean, I think there's several things people can do, but, you know, I was with her. I should sort of full disclosure here. I know Amy and I know her well. She's a friend. And in fact, I worked for her about 14 years ago. So, you know, I do have a connection to her and to this story. I was with her a few weeks ago and somebody else said to her, "How can we support you?" And she said, well, you know, the way you can support me is by making sure to keep yourselves informed about the unfolding story. Keep yourself informed by demanding that the press keep covering it. Yeah. Keep yourself informed by following it on, you know, local media and on social media. Go out and support the protesters. Go out and find out what's happening there, and really care about this situation that's unfolding in North Dakota at this moment that hasn't until recently been well covered. And I think, yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. So apropos of that, what is going on right now with Dakota Access Pipeline?
Well, you know, there's a lot of different things, and it's sort of a fast-moving story at the moment. One thing that is happening is that there's still sort of this huge gathering of protesters and people who call themselves land protectors, who are many members of Native American tribes and their allies. and they are continuing to protest and to actually try to stop the continued construction of the pipeline. They have filed several lawsuits. Unfortunately, an appeal was just turned down. An appeal to stop the construction was turned down. So construction is continuing on the pipeline, and so the protests are intensifying. As those protests intensify, two things are happening. One, if you actually go to Democracy Now! And listen to their show from this morning, you can hear that there's sort of an increasing militarization on the part of sort of National Guard and police officers. And so, we're seeing helicopters, we're seeing MRAPs, we're seeing all sorts of sort of heavy duty.
So the force of the state is being brought to bear in support of the pipeline company.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So the force of the state is being brought to bear on behalf of the pipeline company.
Yes, and what we're also seeing is more and more people being arrested, including other journalists. I should have said that at the beginning. Last Tuesday, a documentary film producer named Dia Schlossberg was arrested, not where Amy Goodman was arrested, but a different part of the pipeline in Walhalla, North Dakota. She was arrested while filming a very small group of activists who are actually trying to shut down the pipelines carrying tar sands oil from Alberta, Canada. And this is sort of stunning, she is facing 3 counts of felony conspiracy and faces a possible 45-year sentence. Shailene Woodley was arrested. So these very high-profile people are being arrested, I think, to intimidate other journalists from going out there and covering the situation. It's important to note also that sort of land protectors, Indigenous people are being arrested in greater and greater numbers. I think there are 6 people who are also going to be arraigned today alongside Amy Goodman, or sort of around the time.
And those people don't have the resources, the media platform, the means to get, a lot of support for them. I mean, you're talking about people who a $500 fine might destroy them economically.
Right, exactly. They don't have all the resources that Amy Goodman from New York City, a beloved independent journalist, has. There's a report of one activist who was arrested during, I believe, the protests that Amy covered on September 3rd, who spent 4 days in prison, without being offered a chance to go before a judge to present bail or anything like that. There's also stories of people being cavity searched. I mean, really sort of aggressive tactics on the part of law enforcement against protesters. It also should be said, there's a direct connection between sort of when we talk about the First Amendment and freedom of the press, the First Amendment also does grant people the right to assemble peaceably. Right. And that's an enshrined right of ours, and that would seem to be under attack as well. And I think the clear message here is, on the part of the state and the part of the oil company, we don't want people protesting this. We want to keep barreling through, as it were.
Yeah, it's really a truly remarkable story. Lizzy Ratner is the senior editor of The Nation magazine, thenation.com. You can tweet her at Lizzy Ratner. Lizzy, keep up the great work, all the great reporting you're doing.
Thank you, and you too. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for being with us today. Yeah, this is an amazing story. Thank you, Lizzy. We'll be back with your calls, more news of the day, and some of my thoughts on it right after this. Stick around.